Hi everyone, my name is Sana Patel and I'm a media strategist with Driven by Co. And today I'll be talking about how to turn raw clips into engaging content through beginner-friendly video editing. So video editing has become one of the most important skills in digital marketing and content creation because editing can completely change how people interact with your content online. And a well-edited video can increase your watch time, engagement, and help content stand out on social media platforms. So today I'm going to walk through the editing workflow I personally use using CapCut and Adobe Premiere Pro. I've worked on social media and video editing projects both academically and creatively. And I like using CapCut because it's super beginner friendly, quick and easy to share short form content, while Premiere Pro will give you more control and has more professional editing tools. Over time, I realized that good editing is less about the complicated effects and more about just keeping the viewers engaged. So in this presentation, I'll be teaching a simple step-by-step editing workflow that beginners can follow. I'll also explain how to make those videos engaging and some tools that I personally like to use to just stay more organized. So editing matters because our attention spans now are extremely short on social media. And so if your video is slow or confusing or visually boring, people will scroll away within seconds. So good editing can increase the watch time, like I said before, and it'll increase like the likes, the comments, and the shares, which is what you want. So another important thing is sometimes just keeping your editing simple is also the best way to go. So before you start, before you like even open any of your editing softwares, it's important to research the type of content that you're going to post. I usually spend time on TikTok. You can use any social media platform you're comfortable with to understand what the current trends are and what editing styles are popular. And you want to pay attention to things like what hooks grab the attention in the first few seconds, how quickly do the clips change, what type of captions are people using, and what editing styles are currently popular. This step is super important because editing trends change within like a few days. There's a new trend every few days. So instead of guessing what might work, it's smarter to learn from content that's already performing well. That doesn't mean that you go ahead and copy. Like you can obviously be creative with it and have your own spin on it. So one of the biggest mistakes you can make is not organizing your files. I learned this, like I'm talking about this from experience. So before you start, I personally like to create like folders. So I'll have one folder for the raw footage, another for B-roll clips that I'll like to use, another one for music or audio, and then you put all those mini folders into one big project file. This will just make everything easier to find later and will prevent you from losing files while editing. Especially when working on larger projects, staying organized saves a lot of time and reduces stress. This is mainly if you're going to be using Adobe Premiere Pro. CapCut, you don't really need to do that. You can just have it saved in an album if you're trying to edit on your phone or iPad, etc. So the next step will be, like after you're done organize everything, watch through the raw footage before making any edits. And while watching, I personally like to make like mental notes. You can also write these notes down, such as like what parts should be cut or where can the B-roll clips be added or what type of B-roll clips and what text or captions might work well. This helps me plan the video before editing instead of randomly making cuts without direction. Planning first usually makes the editing process more faster and smoother. The next step will be creating a rough cut, is what I like to call it. This is where you remove any unnecessary pauses, mistakes, or repeated sentences and filler words like or like. The goal here is to improve the flow and clarity of the video, and so you don't need to take too much time fixing minor things here. Sometimes this also means splitting clips apart and rearranging the sections to make the content feel smoother and more engaging. Both CapCut and Premiere Pro make it easy to split clips and trim unnecessary sections. So Adobe has these three icons that you can use where you can trim a clip, cut a clip, and reposition or rearrange. And CapCut has something similar where at the bottom it'll tell you edit, split, and then you can also delete the clip. And also a reminder that if you are using Adobe, to constantly save the file that you're working on. And in CapCut, it usually will automatically save if you leave the app. But with Adobe, just to be safe, at the top, if you click File and scroll down, you should be able to save your work in Adobe. And then next will be the cleanup and structure. Once the rough cut is finished, I focus on structuring the video properly. So most short form content will follow a simple structure with a strong hook at the beginning, main content in the middle, and a clear ending or takeaway. The hook is especially important because the first few seconds decide whether the viewers will keep watching or scroll away. At this stage, you can also clean up the transitions in between clips so everything is more smooth instead of choppy. And then this is where you'll add B-roll clips if you have any, and visuals or images. And B-roll refers to extra footage or images that support what is being said in the video. Examples can include screen recordings, reaction clips, aesthetic visuals, which you can search them up on Pinterest, is what I personally like to use, or close-up shots. B-roll clips are important because constantly showing the same talking clip can get repetitive and boring. So adding supporting visuals keeps the audience engaged and will help explain your ideas more clearly. One of the most important editing steps today is adding captions. A lot of people watch social media without sound in public spaces, and it will also just make your video more accessible for everyone. Captions will also help them understand the content. I usually add key phrases or emphasized words and also use automatic captions. So both CapCut and Adobe have this auto caption feature. Premiere Pro's is called transcription tool. They both can generate captions automatically. And another good thing about captions, it'll help with retention because the viewers are visually engaged. So over the first top picture, this is the icon that CapCut has. And then Adobe is a little bit more confusing, but usually on the right side, you'll see it say transcript, and then you're able to create that. After captions, I add transition and effects where needed. Simple transitions between clips can make the video feel smoother and more visually appealing. I also pay attention to TikTok trends once again, which is the platform I like to use, just to see what's popular. However, though, one important thing, don't overdo it. Don't add an effect after every single clip that you have. I personally like to add one in the beginning, maybe one in the end, and then if you have B-roll clips, you could add a small transition in between those, but not more than that, because too many transitions or animations will become distracting and it'll reduce the quality of your video. Music is another important part of editing because it affects the overall vibe of your video and the mood and energy that you're going to have. So when adding background music, I make sure the volume is low enough and that the voice remains clear and understandable. This is if you have original audio for your raw footage. For social media content platforms like TikTok and Instagram, they already have their own music libraries that you can use. But for YouTube content, it's important to be careful with copyright issues. So royalty-free music websites are often safer options. The one I personally like to use that I know a lot of other YouTubers use is called Free to Use. And they also have a bunch of different genres that you can pick from. And then also choosing the right music can make a video feel more professional and engaging. And then some extra editing tools, you do not have to use these, but if you do feel like using them, Premiere Pro has a feature that can automatically remove filler words, and they also have a feature where they can completely remove background noise. CapCut also has this, but it isn't a feature that you would have to pay for. But CapCut is also very useful as it does have templates, and they have the effects as well, and it's much more simpler for beginners. If you do decide to use the Premiere Pro filler word, I've showed an image here of how to find it. It should be under graphics. Also, the important thing is choosing tools. Make sure you use the ones that will help your workflow rather than overcomplicate things. So if it doesn't make sense and it's difficult, you can try to look online. Adobe does have a help option at the top when you're editing, but if it's too difficult, you can stick to being simple. So before exporting the video, I always watch everything one final time, obviously. So during the review, you want to check for the flow of the video, the audio level, so if the music is too loud, or if you're not loud enough, the pacing, the timing of the video, and if there's anything that feels like is unnecessary or is too slow, you want to remove that as well. And then you also, in Adobe, you want to make sure you check the export settings so that the video quality matches the platform it is being uploaded to. And then you want to review your content, because before posting, if you have any small mistakes, you want to do that before you upload, because if you do it after, it'll just make things much harder on you. And so to summarize, one of the biggest lessons I've learned during this project is that editing really is about storytelling. Good editing will help guide the viewer's attention and it'll keep them engaged. And most importantly, beginners should remember that they don't need to be perfect to start creating content. You just want to improve on your skills, and you also want to have fun with it, because this is a space where you get to be creative and be able to implement your own ideas. And also a reminder that keeping your videos fast-paced, organized, and visually engaging will make a huge difference in performance. So to conclude, good editing keeps people watching, and keeping people watching is what's going to make your content successful. Thank you for listening, and I hope this presentation gave you a better understanding of beginner-friendly video editing and content creation.